Hello there and welcome. What this is going to be is a review of the user interface for Company Heroes 2 as we know it in alpha from the information they've released in the developer diary video and the article they released last week with two screenshots from the UI itself. If you're interested in seeing somebody talk over images of that on YouTube for an extended period of time, you're in luck because that's what I'm about to do. Let's go onwards. This is a HD quality still taken from the developer diary video. On a base level, straight away as a new player, if I was new to the game, I'd think this was a pretty pleasant user interface. It's not too large, doesn't take too much of the screen. It's got simple to understand visuals. Obviously that's the unit you've got selected, that's their face, something that's been in the game since the time of Doom. You can see that there's a few glitches in this particular still, there's a few number errors, but that's obviously because it's an alpha build. There's the resource overlay, there's the abilities of your unit, that's pretty self-explanatory, and you've even got a little sentence explaining what they are. However, as a player that's played the game before this, you'd be thinking, oh my god, why is it all changed? Why is it different? Why is it so... Why is this colour scheme different than the old game? It's jarring difference, but we're going to have to separate ourselves from that and try and judge it, in a balanced way. So let's go onwards. What else have we got? We've got this still that they released. This is a different resolution to what you'd actually play a game on, so I don't know why that is, but it doesn't fill the screen up. And let's start talking about what they've got in front of us. Immediately you can see compared to the previous screen, because there's more than two units, more than two units, obviously a two-lady snipers team, and this you've got a colossal army comprising, tier 1 and tier 2 infantry-based units there, and two tanks. It starts to fill up the entire screen. This unit can select interface does. Obviously you can see these little triangles, so they must be collapsible. I can't confirm or deny that playing alpha. Obviously we're not allowed to talk about that in immense detail. But as I say, I don't like this certain aspects, in my opinion. I think it's a little bit too busy. A little bit too much going on there. There's not enough distinction between each unit. There's too much of an effect on each thing, and the reason I say that is if we were to go on, let me just go past a few tabs, to the actual user interface as we know it, look at the command ribbon here. It's very, very simple. It's a hover over effect, not an expand click effect, and it just gives you uniform shield icons for each unit, and then when you expand it, it gives a little bit more detail. It's all the same color scheme. It's not too jarring. We could come to love it in time. It does give a little bit more information. You've got damaged vehicle there. Can you see that? I'm assuming that's because there's a gear thing there. So the user interface for this seems to have a little bit more information packed in. I'm not quite sure about that. One thing I am sure about is the general move towards giving you more information about each unit. And now, at first sight, you might think, what the hell are you on about? There's less information, because we aren't seeing, I seem to have broken my slideshow. We're not seeing, in this portion here, we're not seeing the breakdown of how many units they've killed. But what I'm going to go on to show you is that we are going to see that. If I let me expand this for you and have a quick read through. To the right of the minimap is the selected unit portrait. Apart from providing a high-fidelity visual representation of the selected unit, the portrait displays vital combat information including health, experience progress, experience rank, allegiance, kill count, temperature, active abilities, and vehicle criticals. Now, the first bit of that we can agree with based on what we've seen. If I just go up to here, you can see there is the veterancy, there is the health. But the rest, I can't agree with at this point based on the visual information they've given us. So what this tells me is that there's more to the UI than we've seen so far. And let's carry on reading it. Much of this information can be rolled over with the mouse to provide an expanded level of detail to the player. So basically this is going to be a dynamic interface, this little portion here. It's going to have more to it than we actually think at this current level of time. The UI isn't as finished as some people claim it is. I'm not talking about developers here, I'm talking about fans in our community. Some people seem to think that the UI is completely finished at this point. They've done that bit, they're going to go on. But no, there's more to it than we've seen so far, or the the level of game we've played so far isn't quite up to what they've actually done based on the text in this article. Beyond the unit portrait is the main information panel, the bridge. The bridge presents all of the critical and tertiary information for a selected unit, giving the player a quick reference for how to be effective on the battlefield in various combat scenarios. So that bit, yeah, that's what I was alluding to earlier. That's that there. It's a quick sentence on the unit. To players that are going to have played the game for more than a week, that'll be completely useless information. But the bridge, again, seems to be a dynamic piece of information. Perhaps that's just a place marker for now, this little sentence. There'll be more going on there, and you'd hope that will be the case. And let's talk about the old interface. Let's compare it to that. There's a lot of wasted space. As beautiful and easy to use as it is, you've got this square here, this rectangle here. This command ribbon isn't as useful as it could be. When you've only got a few units selected in the squad, it only fills a small portion of it. And I've got, there we go. This is what I've done. I've tried to remove the game so we can stay as objective as possible. We haven't got the busy Company of Heroes 2 DirectX 11 graphics going on. We've got just the simple user interfaces. I've done that for both games. Obviously, it might not be quite fair for Company of Heroes 2 with all these units selected and this command ribbon not being quite up to scratch with what it may end up being yet. But as I say, it's let's have a flick through, compare the two. I'll just do this. This will actually be a feature of the video, so you can actually look at it and make your own mind up. And if you check the links below, you will I will include all the stills I've created here. So yeah, it's difficult to say at this time. One thing I will note at this time, however, is the colour green. Now, in the original Company of Heroes, we had blue versus red. It's arguably a much more dramatic and much more pure colour contrast in terms of good and evil, blue, red. The Germans weren't red all the time. If you were the Germans, they were blue. So it wasn't a theological idea that, oh, the Nazis had red in their flag, so they're red, they're the baddies. No, it was just blue versus red on the battlefield, the contrast between those two colours. It's Empire Strikes Back, Luke Skywalker and Vader meeting with the blue and red lightsabers. In the Return of the Jedi is a green lightsaber. It doesn't look quite as good. Same effect here, same in principle, and it's not too late for them to change that. And I hope they do, because I don't think green's as good of a colour for the game. I don't think it's as quite as pure. On the battlefield, I think it'll mesh quite horrific. Well, not horrifically. That's too harsh a word. It will mesh too much with the springtime maps and the green effect. It is kind of a more traditionally military colour, I suppose. Well, not traditionally, but in modern times with camouflage and what have you. But yeah, I'm not too sure on green versus. Look at that. You can see immediately blue, red. Such a classic theme there, and I really hope they depart from the idea of using green as a unit icon scheme and the overall user interface. I'm not happy. That's one negative thing that I will add in my review of this. In terms of resources, this is the next bit now. Resources in this game, as we've already read in the article from last week, they're giving us a horizontal overlay compared to the vertical overlay from the previous game. And I don't think that's quite as good. It's not too bad. It's not going to be a thing that they have to kill themselves to change. However, it is something I will note that I would prefer a vertical interface. And the reason for that being is the numbers and symbol combined already take up horizontal space. If you then compile them in a horizontal strip, it makes it harder to read in one go. Your eyes have to track over a larger area in a larger, one-dimensional direction than they would if it was in a more compact square. If it's in a more compact square, you have them tiled on top of each other, and you can more easily read the resources in a frenetic combat environment in one go. I also like the distinction between population cap and the other three resources. Population cap is a little bit more unique. It's not something that you gain per hour. It's just something you contribute when you build a unit. Obviously you cap it out at a certain point. And I like the fact that that's the distinguishment is made between the two things. In this ribbon, population cap is one with its other three resources. And you will notice that manpower income has a fist, population cap has a man. I don't quite think that those two, contrast greatly enough. Perhaps it could be they could endeavour to make population cap, separate again. I'm not sure they'll do that, however, because obviously they're trying to make it as, in their mind, as simple as possible. So yeah, that's one thing I've noted about that. And this is interesting. This is what I was going on about earlier when I was talking about wasted space. I've compiled the wasted space for both games, and pretty much, I've cut it up into ribbons, and they're pretty much equal. They've basically contained just as much information as the previous game. However, with the dynamic user interface, they might include more, but they've used all the space in doing so, and I think that's good. I think the fact that they've used all the space, as much of the space as possible. The only space they haven't used is in the bridge, as they call it. That's where the text would have gone, usually. In the previous game, as I was saying earlier, look, there's these giant rectangles. That's where the broadcasters and YouTubers put their webcams and their overlays. It's completely wasted. It doesn't have anything going for it. In the new game, it looks like they've endeavoured to use every bit of space imaginable, and hopefully we get more unit information as a result. But for every negative thing I've said so far, we must say at this point it's all alpha. They are listening to us in the forums, and it's a great work in progress. I, for one, am extremely excited for this game. I think it's going to be brilliant. I've obviously played at alpha, which I can't talk about too much, but I think the game overall is something to be excited about. And hopefully, with the UI, they're working on it. They're going to make it better, and it's going to be a progressive going forward thing. And one thing I'm going to compare it to now is the game Supreme Commander from 2006. This was an RTS, the last great RTS I personally was excited for. And it had this UI, this clunky UI. It was a giant grey strip, and in the time I was playing on a much smaller monitor than today, so my resolution was a lot more cramped. The UI covered a third. I'm talking approaching half of the screen at times. It was ginormous. This grey strip was really unwieldy, and they patched it. They gave us this a few weeks after retail, and it was beautiful. It's completely malleable, completely dynamic. Everything's interchangeable. It collapses. You can collapse this into the point where it's a tab, much similar to this tab here. The entire UI. This is the best UI for an RTS game I've ever seen. It was beautiful. Every little bit of it was, once you've tinkered around with it, understandable. It all had text that popped up and told you what each bit meant for a noob player. But it was beautiful. The problem was they released it after retail. So all the reviewers in an RTS game, they do get judged on their UIs quite heavily because you are interacting with quite a difficult to interact with situation. You're trying to command an army, so the UI is an essential tool. The games do get judged on it. So let's hope that Relic absolutely get this thing perfect before it goes to release, because that could be one of the things that would give it an 88% Metacritic rating rather than 94% as the previous game has. So yeah, I hope that they take, and UIs are obviously something that can be changed quite a lot, as proven in games such as this one that I'm showing you here, and hopefully they do take the criticism on board with a pinch of salt, of course, because not everything can be listened to, and they have got things to think about, such as noob players. Things like a little bit of text on your unit is quite a good thing. It does give people that aren't used to playing the game an overall a better understanding of it. So we shouldn't judge that too harshly. What we can judge too harshly, however, is things like the resources being in a horizontal strip. Hopefully that will get listened to. I would much prefer it to be in a vertical strip just here, just left of this, the command interface. So yeah, there's that. And thank you for watching. I'll leave the game on a beautiful still from the. There we go. Stug 4 looking and a Panzer 4 looking rather impressive there as the Wehrmacht encroach upon a Russian fortified position. Something to be excited about, of course. This game is going to be impressive. But that's my review of the UI. Thank you for watching.